When snakes can't reach your level, they spit venom hoping it'll stick. But real ones rise, and venom only burns the hand that throws it. They lied on your name, smiled in your face while planning your downfall. They faked concern, whispered poison into ears that were once loyal to you, and then watched from the shadows, waiting, hoping, praying that you'd crack, that you'd snap, that you'd finally show the anger they could use against you. Didn't they twist your words and call it truth? Didn't they poke, prod, and push you, then cry victim when you didn't respond the way they wanted? Didn't they try to stain your name with the very dirt they were crawling in? And when none of it worked, didn't they act like you were the one who went too far? This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a small mistake. This was a disgusting, calculated, venom-dripping attack designed to turn everyone against you, to make you question your worth, your mind, your very light. And yet, chosen one, here you are, still standing, still glowing, still being talked about, not because you broke, but because you refused to, and they can't stand it. Before we go deeper, hit that like button and subscribe. That simple action helps this message reach other chosen ones, those who are still bleeding silently behind fake smiles. When you interact, you help signal YouTube that this truth matters. Let's wake them up, one voice at a time. Now back to you, chosen one. You didn't ask for this war, but you were dragged into it because your presence threatened people who had built their lives on false power. You were chosen by the universe, not because you were perfect, but because you had the kind of soul that couldn't be bought, bent, or bullied. They sensed it, that unshakable energy, that gravity in your presence, the kind that pulls masks off people just by walking in the room. That's why they tried so hard to ruin you, because when you're chosen, you don't even have to speak to expose the fakes. You being you becomes the problem. You were never fighting people. You were clashing with empty shells who hated the way your light made their shadows show. They wanted to dim you because you made them uncomfortable with who they pretended to be. Your peace was a threat. Your grace, an insult to their chaos. And so they launched a campaign, not of confrontation, but of cowardice. But here's the part they didn't expect. You didn't flinch. You didn't fold. You didn't give them the reaction they were counting on. They showed up to a fire expecting to watch you burn, and instead, they melted under the heat of their own lies. And you still doubt your light? Still questioning if you're really that powerful? Let me say this plainly. Your existence alone triggered a war, not because you were loud, not because you were messy, but because your truth walked into rooms where lies had grown too comfortable. You were chosen, and the universe equipped you long before you knew the battle was coming. You thought you were being left behind. You thought the silence meant abandonment, but the universe was moving mountains behind your back, placing eyes in rooms you'd never stepped foot in, building witnesses out of strangers. While they plotted destruction, the universe plotted exposure. So let me ask you something. Why are you still doubting the very light that just humiliated your enemies without you even having to swing? They tried to shame you, but now they're being whispered about. They're the ones under side eyes and suspicion. You became the example, the walking lesson, the living blueprint of how to carry yourself when cornered by snakes. And let's be real, they didn't just try to embarrass you. They tried to erase you. Their goal wasn't discomfort, it was obliteration. But the more they talked, the more the room started to look at them. Their obsession with you became the clearest sign of their insecurity. The more they reached to tear you down, the more they revealed how far below you they truly were. This is the power of being chosen. It doesn't show up in titles, money, or noise. It shows up in how you endure storms and come out cleaner. It shows up in how you don't react to filth, but you force it to expose itself by refusing to be dragged into it. You weren't just being watched, you were being studied, and now people are saying your name with respect, not because you played their game, but because you refused to. So stop looking for proof. You are the proof. Your peace is loud, your stillness is sharp, and your survival, it's now legend. So tell me, chosen one, are you really ready to face what they never wanted you to realize? If you're done shrinking to make cowards comfortable, drop the number 77 in the comments right now. Not for luck, for alignment, for war mode, for confirmation that you know who you are now, and you're never going back to silence. Because what's coming next, it's not just truth. It's a full unraveling of the game they played, and how you flipped the entire script without lifting a finger. And now, let's get into it step by step. If you're truly chosen, your spirit will feel what's coming before I even say it. This isn't just a story, it's a mirror, and the real ones won't be able to look away. Let's begin. Number 1, the truth is out, and it's ugly. They didn't stab you in the back by accident. They circled you like vultures, took their time, smiled, waited for you to turn around, and then went for the kill. That's not betrayal. That's strategy, sognaviato. Let's make this clear. Chosen one, this wasn't some slip-up or innocent mistake. This was a hit job. A cold, calculated, disgusting setup designed to break you in silence and shame. They studied you. They watched your movements. They mapped out your kindness like a weakness, tested your patience like it was a glitch, and turned your silence into a weapon they thought they could use against you. But they miscalculated one major thing. You were chosen. They didn't just want to hurt you. They wanted to erase you, erase the influence you had, erase the peace you walked with, erase the respect you didn't even ask for, but were given naturally. It's not just your strength they hated. It's the effortlessness of it. The fact that you didn't beg for attention, and yet somehow all eyes still found their way to you. They smiled in your face while planting landmines behind your back. And when you didn't fall apart the way they hoped, when your energy didn't shatter on impact, they panicked. Because fake people always underestimate real ones, especially the quiet kind. They thought you'd break. You evolved. And now, here's what's driving them mad. The truth is out. The same people they tried to turn against you. They're starting to see through the lies. The smirks aren't hitting the same. The gossip is falling flat. The manipulation is obvious now. They tried to paint you as the villain, and now they can't even look in the mirror without flinching. Let's be real. They didn't act alone. No coward ever does. They formed alliances, whispered in dark corners, picked up the phone just to spread dirt they weren't brave enough to sling face to face. They thought numbers would protect them. They thought the crowd would cover their intent. But the universe doesn't need a crowd. It only needs truth. And you, chosen one, you are the truth they couldn't handle. You didn't get here by luck. You didn't survive this because you were untouched. You bled. You sat in silence and questioned everything. You stared at ceilings, wondering what you did to deserve this level of betrayal. But that silence wasn't abandonment. It was alignment. The universe didn't leave you. It was pulling the strings, rearranging the stage, gathering the audience. because this wasn't just a hit. This was your initiation. You ever wonder why the universe stayed quiet while they were loud? Because it wanted their lies on full display. It let them build the entire stage, hand out tickets, and call the crowd, just so it could flip the lights on and reveal who the real monster was. They exposed themselves trying to bury you, and you still doubt yourself. You still ask why you're alone sometimes, why people act strange when you walk in the room, why you get treated like a threat without even speaking. Let me tell you why. It's because you disturb the fake in them. You activate insecurities they were never ready to face. Your energy is a mirror, and most people can't handle what they see when they stand next to someone real. That's why they attacked. Not because you were wrong, but because you were right too often. Not because you failed, but because you succeeded without playing dirty. You're not just chosen. You're proof that peace is powerful, and they couldn't stand the reflection. And don't think this is new. This is what they did to Malcolm, to Maya, to Nipsey, to Selena, to anyone who moved with quiet power and shook the foundation by simply existing. People fear what they can't control, and when they can't own you, they try to ruin you. But here's where you flip the script. You didn't respond like they expected. You didn't go on a smear campaign. You didn't explode or melt down in front of an audience. You did the one thing they weren't ready for. You stayed still, and the truth spoke louder than any defense you could have given. And now, that stillness is deafening. The truth is dripping through the cracks. People are piecing it together. Even the ones who turned their backs on you are starting to wonder why they feel guilty every time they hear your name. Because deep down, they know they judged a lie. And now, the lie's falling apart. They underestimated the power of being chosen. They thought being chosen meant you'd be loud, aggressive, flashy. They didn't realize it meant being untouchable in the quietest, most dangerous way. They thought you were alone. But what they didn't know is the universe surrounds its chosen with silence, not to isolate, but to shield. So if you're still doubting your light after all this, you better wake up. You didn't just survive something ugly. You walked through a trap designed to destroy you, and you came out cleaner than the ones who set it. That's not coincidence. That's cosmic protection. Stop asking why it happened. It happened because you were the one meant to end the cycle. Because you were the one with the resilience to take the hit and still rise. Because you were the one they couldn't silence, even when you weren't speaking. This is your power, not just to endure, but to reveal. You didn't just handle it. You shattered the illusion, and now they don't know what to do with themselves. Let them panic. Let them scramble. Let them drown in the lies they created. You, keep walking, head high, eyes forward, because this is just the beginning of your rise. And every step you take from here, it echoes. Let the world hear it. Number 2, you weren't attacked because you were weak. They didn't come for you because you were easy to break. They came because you were impossible to control. Let that land in your chest for a second. Chosen one, they weren't trying to destroy a weakness. They were trying to dim a light that burned too bright for their fake world. You weren't targeted because you were fragile. You were targeted because you were the truth walking in skin. And when the truth shows up, everything built on lies starts to crack. Your calm? That was a threat. Your peace? That was their panic. Your power? That was their trigger. Understand this clearly. You being you ruined their performance. They had masks on, perfect little images, pretend smiles, controlled narratives, and then you walked in, No ego, no games, just raw energy, just presence. And suddenly, people started noticing that what they were calling real had no soul, that what they were praising had no spine. You exposed them without saying a word. And what did they do? Instead of stepping up and fixing themselves, they made you the problem. They formed silent alliances. They ran their mouths like cowards hiding behind whispers. They turned your light into a crime scene because it showed every flaw they tried to keep buried. But let me say this, that's not your burden, that's your badge. Because here's what you've been too humble to accept. Your power rattles people. It reaches into their fakeness and shakes it loose. Your very presence brings out what they're trying to keep hidden. That's why they acted like you were dangerous. That's why they tried to discredit you. Because if others kept seeing you, kept feeling you, it was only a matter of time before the masks came off. And yes, I know what you've asked yourself. Why me? What did I ever do to them? Why can't I just be left alone? Here's the answer. You weren't built for background roles. You're not meant to blend in. You're not here to keep the peace in fake rooms. You were built to shift rooms just by existing. And the people who rely on lies, on control, on manipulation, they feel that shift like a storm coming. And storms don't come quietly. So when they came for you with gossip, setups, smear campaigns, that wasn't an attack on your weakness. That was a panic move. That was fear disguised as strategy. That was insecurity throwing punches in the dark, hoping you'd stumble. But here's where they fumbled. The universe doesn't let its chosen fall for that kind of mess. It watched. It let it play out. And now, the truth is turning sharp. Their stories are crumbling. Their little alliances are folding in on themselves. People are starting to ask questions, not about you, but about them. Because fake always burns itself out when real doesn't flinch. So stop asking why they tried you. Start asking why you still doubt your fire. Stop shrinking when your very presence forced the masks to melt. Stop apologizing for the energy that made cowards nervous. They weren't ready for you, and instead of rising, they reached for weapons. Let them, because you've got the universe behind you, and the universe never wastes time protecting anything weak. You were chosen because you could take that hit and still rise with clean hands. So leave them where they are, stuck in their small games, choking on their own envy, trying to figure out how someone they tried to break became the example they're now scared to speak against. Keep walking. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you walked in already winning. Number 3. Their entire plot just collapsed. When you build a trap for someone walking in truth, don't be surprised when you fall into it face first, because lies don't age well and masks always rot from the inside. Chosen one, it's time you stop underestimating just how epic this collapse really is. Everything they built, the lies, the narratives, the backroom whispers, the setup scenes, it's all caving in, piece by piece, brick by brick. They didn't just fail to take you down, they publicly exposed themselves in the process. They thought they were writing your ending, but all they did was set fire to their own script. Let's be real, they went all in on your destruction. They twisted facts so hard, even fiction got confused. They baited your friends. They edited stories. They rehearsed roles like actors in a cheap soap opera. They were so obsessed with proving you were the problem that they didn't notice they were building a case against themselves. They created fake messages, false narratives, dramatic scenes built on emotion and zero evidence. But here's the thing about lies. They need perfect timing and constant maintenance. One slip, one contradiction, one person who starts to ask the wrong question, and the whole show unravels. And now, that's exactly what's happening. People are watching, people are comparing, people are realizing, wait a minute, none of this adds up. And the silence from your side, that's what made it all fall apart. You didn't scramble, you didn't defend every lie, you didn't match their drama. You stood still, you stood calm, and in that calm, the truth started screaming. You didn't clap back, you didn't post proof, you didn't chase rumors. You let the rumors chase themselves into a dead end. Because the universe always plays the long game for its chosen. It let them build their truth, let them lie freely, even gave them the confidence to go louder, just so the fall would be louder too. And now they're falling. Hard. People who once nodded along with them. Quiet. The allies they used to gang up on you, missing. The fake friends, fumbling their apologies. The audience, no longer entertained. You see, when your spirit is real, when your name holds weight without you having to shout, you become untouchable in a way lies can't reach. They wanted to destroy your image, but your image wasn't built on ego. It was built on truth. That's why it stood. That's why they're the ones looking shaky now. And still, you doubt yourself? Still think maybe you're too sensitive, too much, too intense. No, what you are is too real for people who've been hiding for too long. Let this collapse motivate you. Let it fuel you. The same mouths that cursed your name are now chewing on their own shame. The same eyes that watched you for failure are now wide open to their downfall. Don't you dare look back. Don't you dare offer explanations. Don't you dare apologize for being the mirror that shattered their illusion. Their plan didn't just fail. It boomeranged. They set out to destroy you. They ended up revealing every fake part of themselves. And you didn't just survive it. You witnessed the collapse while standing tall in the rubble they built for you. Number 4, you didn't react, you rise. The loudest sound in a room full of chaos is the one who refuses to speak, because silence from the real one echoes louder than screams from the desperate. Chosen one, let's call this what it was, a trap. They didn't come at you for truth. They came for a reaction. They wanted the show. They wanted to pull the strings and watch you dance in pain, rage, outbursts, tears, broken composure. That's what they needed from you. That was their last card. If they couldn't destroy your name with lies, they'd bait you into blowing up so they could say, "See, we told you, look how unstable they are." But you didn't give them that. You gave them nothing. No meltdown, no outburst, no sob story, no emotional explosion. You gave them calm. You gave them stillness. You gave them silence so sharp it echoed in their minds like a scream they couldn't stop hearing. You left them pacing in circles, second-guessing their plan, waiting for a punch that never came. And in that quiet, they lost control. Because here's what they didn't understand. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was power under pressure. You didn't shut down. You locked in. You didn't run. You rose. And that's when they knew. They messed with the wrong one. You ever notice how scared people get when you don't play along? How unsettled they become when the person they tried to provoke stays unmoved, unbothered, untouchable, because your peace wasn't passive, it was defiance. Your calm wasn't confusion, it was strategy. Your silence wasn't fear, it was strength. They expected noise. They expected the version of you they imagined, weak, reactive, emotional, broken. But you gave them the version of you that the universe had been shaping in the dark, the one built through every betrayal, every lonely night, every moment you were misunderstood but kept standing anyway. And still, you ask yourself, but if I'm chosen, why did I have to go through this? Why didn't the universe stop them? Why didn't someone step in sooner? Because you were never meant to win with noise. You were meant to rise without touching a single weapon. The universe let it all unfold so it could show them not just who you are, but how you operate when cornered. While they screamed, you smiled. While they faked tears, you showed poise. While they plotted rage, you became a mirror, reflecting everything they hated about themselves. And it destroyed them. You exposed their chaos without lifting a finger, without clapping back, without giving them the fuel they needed. And that drove them insane. Because what breaks cowards more than silence from someone who could have burned it all down, but didn't? You're not just surviving this. You're becoming living proof that self-control is the deadliest weapon of all. So let this be your reminder. You are not reactive. You are revolutionary. The universe didn't need you to fight back. It needed you to stand still, so the lies could collapse under their own weight. And now look, they're crumbling in front of the same audience they tried to humiliate you in. Their truth is being laughed at. Their masks are melting. Their desperation is showing. And you're rising, calm, composed, chosen. So stop feeling bad for not defending yourself. Stop explaining silence to people who only understand noise. Stop questioning your path when the outcome is unfolding exactly as it should. You didn't react. You rose. And that's why they'll never recover. Number 5. Stop saying you're alone. When warriors walk alone, it's not because they've been abandoned. It's because the universe is clearing the room for their rise to echo without interruption. Chosen one, enough with the why me and I'm all alone talk. Seriously, stop. That narrative is expired. You're not alone. You were insulated. There's a difference. Isolation isn't punishment when you're chosen. It's preparation. The silence you mistook as abandonment was actually divine construction. The heartbreak you thought was a setback. That was the universe moving people out of your life before they could stain your next chapter. You weren't alone. You were surrounded, not by noise, but by intention. Not by fake friends, but by divine alignment. Not by approval, but by power. Let me ask you this. If you were really alone, how did you survive that chaos? How did you keep your mind intact while they dragged your name through dirt? How did you stay still while they tried to bait you into breaking? Because behind the scenes, the universe was doing what you couldn't see, quietly placing people in rooms where your name was being twisted. People who remembered your truth, quietly rearranging situations that looked like breakdowns, but were really setups for clarity, quietly gathering evidence, stacking karma, clearing paths. You thought no one had your back, but in reality, you were being backed by something they couldn't touch. They weren't just fighting you. They were fighting the force that chose you, the energy that has kept you breathing through storms that would have crushed most people. They were swinging at something far bigger than your name. They were clashing with the reason your name holds weight in the first place. And still, you doubt yourself. Still crying over people who couldn't even stand in your presence without getting triggered. still mourning the loss of relationships that were draining your energy, still thinking your loneliness means weakness, when in reality it means you're being set apart because your calling isn't up for group discussion. The universe never left your side. You just weren't listening. It was there when you couldn't sleep, but somehow made it to work. It was there when your heart was shattering and nobody noticed, but somehow you still spoke with strength. It was there when you got betrayed, mocked, set up, and still your name didn't rot the way they planned. Why? Because truth doesn't expire. Because real ones don't fall from fake hate. Because being chosen means even in the silence, you're surrounded by a force that watches what you can't. So hear this loud and clear. They didn't beat you. They couldn't. Because you weren't standing alone. You were standing with the universe at your back. And that's why every trap missed. That's why every lie is unraveling. That's why every enemy is now explaining instead of attacking. They didn't fight you. They fought your calling. They fought your covering. And guess what? They lost. So don't you ever again look up at the sky, asking if you're protected. Don't you sit in the dark, wondering if anyone sees your pain. The universe saw it all, and it didn't just witness, it documented. Every fake smile, every twisted story, every back turned when you needed support, logged for justice, for exposure, for elevation. This wasn't abandonment. This was recalibration. And now it's your time. So stop saying you're alone. You're not. You never were. You were chosen. And chosen doesn't mean surrounded. It means backed by something bigger than anyone in the room. Walk like it. Speak like it. Stand like it. Because from this moment forward, alone is no longer in your vocabulary. Number 6. You were watched and admired. You thought you were just surviving, but what you didn't see was a silent audience taking notes while you walked through hell with your head held high. Chosen one, listen closely. You weren't just seen, you were studied. You thought no one noticed. You thought your silence meant invisibility. But the truth? Eyes were locked on you, not out of pity, not out of mockery, out of awe, out of respect, out of sheer disbelief that someone could be hit that hard, lied on that brutally, betrayed that deeply, and still carry themselves like a storm didn't just pass through their soul. People saw it. They saw the setup. They saw the fake smiles that turned cold. They heard the whispers, the slick, underhanded digs that only the insecure throw. They watched the way people switched up on you, the smirks, the sabotage, the bait. They saw it all. And while some stayed silent, don't think for a second they were blind. Because when it all went down, you didn't flinch. You didn't scream. You didn't beg. You didn't go live and air it all out. You stood still, chest out, chin up, and that right there, that became legendary. Your calm wasn't just composure, it was education. You showed people how to handle betrayal without becoming bitter. You taught them how to protect their peace when everything around them was built to provoke. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. Some of the people who once doubted you, they're now admiring you in silence. They remember how you were spoken about, how your name was dragged. They nodded back then. But now they know better. Because what the lies couldn't do, your stillness did. It revealed truth. You became the blueprint, the one people bring up in quiet conversations. Did you see how they handled that? I would have lost it if it were me. I don't know how they stayed that calm, but you know how. You were never reacting, you were rising. What you thought was isolation was actually elevation. What felt like silence was actually strategy. What felt like surviving was mastery in motion, and the world saw it, even if they never said a word. And that's why you can't quit now. That's why you can't let self-doubt whisper louder than your legacy. Because you're not just a survivor, you're an example. Your strength gave others permission to protect their own. Your grace made people rethink how they respond to pain. Your restraint exposed their desperation without you ever needing to speak. You were watched and admired. You thought you were crawling through the fire, but they saw a warrior walking through it like they owned the flame. So next time you ask yourself, did it even matter? Let me answer you clearly. Yes, they saw it. They studied it. They still talk about it. And they'll never forget the moment you rose, not in noise, but in power. Number 7. The predators are now the punchline. When a snake tries to play puppet master but ends up tangled in its own strings, that's not a threat anymore. That's a punchline. Chosen one, look around. The people who once whispered about you are now whispering about them. The same ones who tried to put you on display, who made you the center of their drama, who thought they were so clever, are now standing in the ruins of their own circus. And guess what? Nobody's buying tickets anymore. They thought they were architects of your downfall. They thought they were setting the stage for your humiliation. But what they built was a comedy, and they became the joke. Every message they sent, every fake screenshot, every smear campaign, every late-night call, every half-truth wrapped in fake concern. All of it is unraveling like cheap thread in a storm. Because here's what they didn't count on: longevity. They built a short-term lie with no long-term structure. You built your life on consistency, on integrity, on truth. So while they were screaming about what you did, the people watching started thinking, hold up, this doesn't sound like them. This doesn't feel right. And just like that, the shift began. The whispers got quieter. The stares started changing direction. And the people who laughed at you, now they're laughing at them. Because it's funny now, how much effort they put in just to end up exposed. It's funny how they screamed so loud, only to prove themselves wrong. They called you fake, but they were rehearsing lies. They said you were manipulative, but they were coordinating attacks behind closed doors. They said you were unstable, but look at them now, unraveling in real time. You see, evil is loud at first. It needs an audience to survive. But once the crowd realizes it's watching a bad performance, it walks away. And all that's left is a stage full of clowns with no one clapping. They exposed themselves trying to expose you. They made themselves look desperate, trying to make you look dangerous. They screamed so loud they forgot to make sense. And now, people are laughing. Not because your pain was funny, but because their plan was pathetic. They went to war with someone protected by the universe, and now they're fighting each other just to avoid the shame. You're not in the fight anymore, and they're still throwing punches at shadows. That's what guilt looks like when it doesn't get the reaction it wanted. Let that fuel you. Let it remind you that the truth doesn't rush. It doesn't scream. It doesn't defend itself every time it's questioned. It waits, and when the timing is right, it explodes, loud enough for everyone to hear, undeniable enough to make liars stutter. So don't feel bad for how it played out. Don't feel bad that you didn't defend yourself louder. Don't feel bad for letting silence do the talking, because it worked. And now, they're the punchline. You're the proof. And the story they tried to control, you're the author now. Number 8. You're not a victim. You're a mirror. They didn't destroy themselves by accident. They crashed into their own reflection and blamed you for holding the mirror. Chosen one, let's make something very clear. You are not a victim. What happened wasn't because you were weak, fragile, or naive. It wasn't because you let it happen. It happened because you were the one who made it impossible for fake to breathe freely. Your presence didn't break them. It revealed them. And when people live in illusion, the last thing they want to see is someone who walks in truth, with their head up and soul intact. You didn't swing first. You didn't start a war. You didn't even raise your voice. You just existed, and that was enough to send them into self-destruction. That's the power of being chosen. You are a mirror, not by intention, but by essence. When you walk into a room, people feel things they've been running from. Your energy is too clear, too raw, too real. It doesn't just light up darkness. It forces people to confront the shadows they've grown comfortable in. And instead of dealing with that discomfort, they pointed fingers at you. Because it's easier to call the mirror toxic than to admit what it's showing. They saw themselves reflected in you, not the version they post, not the version they show in public, but the truth, their insecurities, their manipulation, their dependence on attention and control. Your peace highlighted their chaos. Your honesty exposed their lies. Your authenticity reminded them they've been performing so long they don't even remember who they are. And that's why they tried to tear you down, not because of what you did, but because of what you represent. You represent everything they pretend to be. Your silence made them feel loud. Your stability made them feel erratic. Your light made their shadows grow long and obvious. You didn't try to break them, but they were never built to handle someone like you, so they collapsed. Not because of an attack, not because you retaliated. They imploded under the weight of their own lies. And yet, you still sit with guilt, still wondering if maybe you should have dimmed a little more, been softer, bit your tongue harder. Let me be clear, no more shrinking, no more apologizing for simply reflecting back what's real. You are not a victim of their mess. You were the trigger for their exposure, and that's not shameful, that's powerful. Look back at every attack, every rumor, every betrayal. Now ask yourself, what did I really do to deserve that? And the answer will hit you like a truth bomb. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to show up. Be real. Breathe in a space that had been filled with lies for too long. They thought their masks were permanent. You proved them temporary. They thought their power was unshakable. Your presence shook it without a word. That's why they hate you, because you reminded them they're not who they pretend to be. You were the wake-up call they never wanted, so they tried to silence the alarm instead of changing their behavior. And the best part? You didn't even try. That's what's driving them mad. You didn't launch a mission to expose them. You just lived. You just loved honestly. You just stayed solid. And that alone shattered the illusion. So from here on out, hold your mirror high. Keep walking with that same grace, that same grounded strength. Let them flinch when they see you. That's not your problem. It's your power. They didn't break you. They broke themselves trying to hide from what you reflect. Number 9. This was never about you. You didn't start the fire. Your presence just made the shadows panic when the light came on. Chosen one, It's time you really understand this. None of this was ever about you. The drama, the smear campaigns, the backstabbing, the manipulation. You were just the target, not the reason. The reason was always their fear. Deep, paralyzing fear. The kind that grows in silence when a person knows they're not enough, but refuses to admit it. So instead, they attacked you. Your strength scared them. Your peace offended them. Your growth made them feel small. And they couldn't say it out loud, so they plotted, whispered, created chaos. Not because you wronged them, but because your light was too much for the fragile reality they built around themselves. You didn't threaten them with weapons. You threatened them with evolution, with the fact that you were rising, and they weren't. You became the living reminder of everything they could have been, if they had done the work. But instead of growing, they chose war. Instead of healing, they chose hate. And now they sit in the wreckage of their own fear, wondering why they feel so empty while you keep rising. They feared your influence because it was natural. You didn't have to beg for loyalty. You didn't have to manipulate for attention. You didn't fake kindness for clout. You just were. And that alone pulled people in. That alone made people trust you. That alone made them feel seen. And that's exactly what the insecure can't handle. See, the moment you stopped playing small, the moment you stopped dumbing yourself down to make others comfortable, their fear exploded. They saw you becoming what they'll never be. And instead of cheering, they chose sabotage. That's why you were attacked. Not because of anything you did, but because of who you refused to stop being. Let me say that again, so your soul hears it. You were attacked not for a mistake, not for a flaw, not for a failure, but because you stayed authentic in a world that thrives on fakery. They were never fighting you. They were fighting the mirror you held up. They were fighting the light that exposed their shadows. They were fighting the energy that reminded them they haven't done the inner work. They were fighting the universe's favor on your life, and that's a battle they were never going to win. And yet, you still wonder if you could have done something different. You still question whether you were too much, too honest, too quiet, too intense. No, you were too real. And real makes the fake crumble every single time. So stop carrying the guilt. Stop asking why you. Start asking why they were so terrified of someone who did nothing but stand in their truth. Because that's the point. It was never about you. It was about what your truth triggered in them. And now that the masks are off, the fear they tried to hide is showing, clear, loud, exposed. You were the trigger, not the cause. You are not their mistake. You are their awakening. Let them sit with that. And you keep moving, because fear can scream all it wants, but it can't stop the rise of the chosen. Number 10. Their plan made you powerful. They threw dirt on your name thinking it would bury you, but didn't realize the soil was sacred and you were the seed. Chosen one, what they meant for your ending became the launch of your next evolution. Their entire plan, the lies, the setups, the gossip, the betrayal, it was designed to finish you, to strip you of credibility, to humiliate you, to leave you in pieces. They wanted people to laugh when they said your name. They wanted doors to close, alliances to break, energy to drain. They tried to bury you, but the universe had other plans. Because here's what they didn't understand. You don't bury the chosen. You plant them. And when the universe plants something, it doesn't grow quietly. It breaks ground. It cracks through darkness. It reaches the light in ways no one saw coming. And now here you are, stronger, sharper, untouchable in ways you never even planned for. What was meant to destroy you, built you. What they tried to steal, replaced with better. What they tried to damage, now shines brighter. What they tried to block, opened up bigger. Because that's what the universe does when you keep your hands clean and your energy pure. It doesn't just protect you, it promotes you. The plan was to ruin your name. Now it holds weight. The plan was to isolate you. Now you stand in rare peace. The plan was to take your voice. Now people lean in to hear your truth. Let's call it what it is. They played themselves. They underestimated what happens when someone truly aligned with the universe gets pushed too far and chooses to rise anyway. And the best part? You didn't force the comeback. You didn't beg for validation. You didn't seek revenge. You simply stayed solid and let the collapse of their plan become the foundation of your rise. So now, their plot? It's your proof. Proof that nothing can destroy what's protected. Proof that energy doesn't lie. Proof that you don't need to clap back when the universe is already building a throne from the rubble they left you in. And let's be real, they hate this part the most. Not just that you survived, not just that you're glowing now, but that they helped build the very version of you that they now fear the most. They tried to break you. They ended up sharpening you. They tried to bury you. They accidentally activated you. This is not just your comeback. This is your coronation. You don't owe explanations. You don't owe softness. You don't owe closure. All you owe is gratitude, not to them, but to the universe that turned their attack into your awakening. So walk with your head high, knowing that everything they tried only made you more powerful. Let them talk. Let them squirm. Let them watch. Because you were never meant to stay buried. You were planted to rise. And now you see it clearly. They never had the power to break you. They were just tools in the hands of a greater force that used their attack to reveal your strength. This wasn't your downfall. It was your becoming. The universe didn't just protect you. It promoted you. And this story, it's only beginning. If this message hit your soul, like this video, subscribe for more truth only the chosen ones will understand. Drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your rise, and share this with another chosen one who's still walking through the fire. Let's awaken the real ones.